I'm Leslie Hooper.
And I'm Steph Miramontes.
So today we're going to be introducing you to another video by John Delony. This woman, Steph, is a twin sister, and she is the quote-unquote fat twin and struggling with that identity. And this is not the first time I have heard this. As a matter of fact, I have also worked with twin sisters, and one of which was the skinny one and the fat one, but they both struggled, ironically, with body image issues. So just goes to show nobody is immune. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get us started on today's video.
So what's up?
Well, okay, so I have a question, and in the grand scheme of everything that's going on in the world, feels kind of like a dumb question.
Wow, can I stop you right there?
Yes.
I can almost guarantee that's part of the problem. Whatever you're about to ask me, I want you to have permission to own whatever's bringing you down.
Okay.
You promise?
And I promise. And
Okay.
I might cry.
Bring it on. I might cry with you.
Okay. My question is this. Sorry. How do I learn to love my body even when, sorry.
Oh, hey, stop apologizing. You're good. Same team.
Okay.
You're my friend.
How do I learn to love my body even when I'm incredibly overweight, like 160 pounds overweight? Because I don't love my body.
Okay. When did you?
I hate it. I
Yeah.
hate the way that I look.
Okay. How long have you struggled with your weight?
My whole life. I'm a twin, a fraternal twin, and fraternal twin grew up super skinny, and I knew from a comparison age, like whenever I first started noticing that we looked different, I was the bigger one, and actually was dubbed that as a child. Like just at basketball games, my friends, my family, I'm the bigger twin. So my whole life.
So most of us who have struggled with what we see in the mirror, who take our shirts off and look in the mirror and are grossed out, and I'll put myself in that category. I've talked about that here. We have an imaginary idea of what we would look like in another body, or if we would finally just start taking care of ourselves and stop being so lazy or whatever other crap we pile on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You walked alongside a literal person.
Yeah. Yeah. She was athletic, who was the popular girl, who was pretty. And I love her. She's my best friend, and she knows all of these things.
Of course.
But I even remember Dr. John, like at a young age, asking her. And then I have a twin, and then I have a younger sister that's just 16 months younger. So we were pretty much like triplets.
Mm-hmm.
And she, again, was skinny, tall, popular, pretty athletic. And I remember, like, probably junior high, asking them repeatedly, like, hey, are you embarrassed of me? Like, do I embarrass you, or do I, do you want to be seen with me? Like, unprompted, would just ask them that. Of course they'd be like, we don't care. Like, you're you. Like, you're fine. But in my mind, I was less than.
Yeah.
And I still feel that way. And like today's culture, like it's like something that, and this has been more recently, like I have found like these inadvertent thoughts of comparison.
Mm-hmm.
You watch a commercial, like, and I've noticed like, there's not very many fat people in that commercial, like, or I'm a worship pastor.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always fun because we live stream services. So, there's a video every week of that if I would allow myself, I go back and watch and I can critique myself. But like even in the realm that I'm in, just watching different videos, I find myself looking for people who look like me and realizing like there's not, and I don't know if people do that consciously or unconsciously, but I immediately do the comparison game and like, okay, well, that's because You're you're less than.
So I just wanted to go ahead and stop it there and get your thoughts, your first impression.
It's so interesting. I'll start kind of with the end where she starts talking about how she's comparing and not seeing herself represented in a wide variety of ways, whether that's live streams or commercials or whatever. And this is so common, whether you're twins or siblings. I can relate, grew up in the same circumstance. Older sister, taller, thinner than me, like didn't have the same weight issues. Then there was me. And then my younger sister, taller, thinner, didn't have the same weight issues. And yet, that didn't mean it saved any of us from struggling in similar ways with our body and our body image and things of that nature. But when she talks about not seeing that representation, there is that representation. Body diversity is very much a thing, depending on how you curate your algorithms to what you see on social media and things of that nature. But the representation is not good enough, right? We need better representation of diverse bodies when it comes to the media. I get that. However, it's interesting because your brain always shows you what's most important to you. It shows you what's most dangerous for you. And since she has spent her entire life thinking her body is a problem that she needs to run away from and escape from, her brain is immediately going to highlight all the ways that she doesn't fit that narrative, all the ways that she doesn't fit the good enough narrative. And so it makes it really hard to see people that do share her experience because she's right now just feeling like she needs to escape from it. She's just not good enough. And it breaks my heart in a million pieces.
Yeah, it's really difficult growing up with a label as being the big sister in a society where that's seen as problematic. And so, of course, you adopt that language as being the big twin and internalize it, and it becomes a part of your identity. That we don't feel safe in our body, and it becomes the enemy, and something that I imagine that she has tried to control probably her entire lifetime, and as a result has likely emotionally eaten to 160 pounds beyond what is considered healthy or ideal or natural or whatever, until she gets in a better relationship with herself and isn't so consumed with her relationships with her sister, because that seems to be what keeps coming up, is comparison. As far as I want to learn to love my body, but I hate it. Don't you feel like that's part of the problem, is she's talking so much shit about it? Maybe we can start with neutral language as opposed to the other extreme, because very few people love their bodies. In this arena, the people that we work with, it's not, I've never once heard a client say they love their body in an early stage like this, unless
Right.
it's in a superficial way.
That's just it. I think that is what people kind of associate with is love is this feeling, but it's not. Love is a relationship. It's a verb. It's a series of feelings. It's something that comes from understanding what it feels like to have the suffering and being willing to move through it and have the imperfection and being willing to continue building and growing through it. And so when we think about loving your body, I think about love as a verb, as an action, as a thing that you do, not your body looks a certain way and now you're allowed to love it. Now you're allowed to have that loving feeling. It's loving your body is something you do and continue to do so that you have that respect for your body and then you feel different feelings. Hating your body because you hate the way it looks, that's pretty limiting, right? I hate my body because I hate the way it looks. That's what we call conditional love. I think we did an episode on conditional love in a marriage and relationship just a little while ago. This is very similar, but it's just her versus her instead of husband versus wife kind of thing. It's, hey, you've got conditions on this love here. If you start loving and appreciating, respecting, and having some kind of understanding for your body, then maybe we'll have a different feeling and emotion associated with it. And you'll be able to show up in a way that takes care of it differently, better. But you're right. Until we stop that comparison and stop thinking I'm less than because they're more, how do we get there?
As you indicated, Steph, it does appear to be very conditional, to the point where we are essentially just objectifying ourselves. It's like, oh, well, you can only go on the date when you have lost X amount of pounds. You're only allowed to go on the vacation when you can fit into this kind of swimsuit. And so we are living a smaller life than we could. And that doesn't feel good either. And we get stuck in the cycle where if you're an emotional eater, you're going to eat to feel better about the size of your body or the things that you're restricting in your life until you're in a different size body. And it becomes a cycle. Most people don't know how to break it or do anything differently. I would love to get your perspective on what people can do to heal their relationship with their bodies.
I think it really starts with becoming aware of how often you are saying unkind things, how often you're in comparison. And it sounds like she's starting to see how often that's happening, and it's disturbing to her. It's bothersome to her. Otherwise, she wouldn't be calling in and asking for advice. And when you can start to recognize how unkind you're being, putting a pause in place and saying, what could I think instead here? Is there anything else that I could be saying about my body, thinking about my body? Because our thoughts are habits. And so we have this habit of dragging ourselves through the mud. We have the habit of seeing ourselves in the mirror and then saying something unkind. We don't see anything that we might potentially be kind about. We don't ever shift the narrative of saying, hey, I'm actually really grateful for my body today because it's letting me do what I need it to do. You may not be able to do the love, warm, fuzzy, cozy feelings, but can you just say, actually, I have a human body? Instead of looking in the mirror and saying, I have such an ugly body, can you say, actually, I have a human body? How do I know? I'm a human. This is my body. And today, this human body needs to take me from point A to point B. I actually don't have to love the way it looks to do that. That's it. One step at a time, just taking the drama and the pain down so many notches to just stone cold facts. This is my human body. Do I wish it was different? Yep. Here's what my body needs me to do today. Dishes, go to work, take care of them kids, so many other things that have nothing to do with how it actually looks. We can work on how it looks. We can pay for it to look different. We can diet our way into looking different. We can exercise. We can hire people. We can do so many things to make it look different. We can dress different, do our hair different, blah, blah, blah. But we can't feel different until we take that expectation of our body to perform for us in a objectifying way, to look a certain way in the mirror so we can finally be happy, till we take that away. So calm it down, change the language. Something equally is true, but not offensive.
It's also such an obtuse way to think of your body. Its only purpose is to be attractive to other people. I understand in our culture and our society that is our currency. That is how women have been socially conditioned, is the thinner, the more attractive, the prettier, the more valuable you are. And so even that has to be deconstructed, I think, at its core, and recognizing that your purpose in life wasn't just to be attractive to other people. You have a body to explore this beautiful planet. And I think the more we turn the volume down on how it looks and turn it up on everything that you get to do with it, the ways that it has enhanced your life, then I think there's more room for a broader conversation. And that's really helpful for healing and moving on too. Anything else you want to add, Steph?
Just quickly, something that relates maybe specifically to her, or maybe it's not her situation, but something I've seen with people that we've worked with, is this element of her being a pastor and the morality and the judgment of being in a larger body, inhabiting a larger body. There's this whole, you're gluttonous and sinful, and layering on the guilt and shame that comes from that element of things. We see religion kind of tie in here, where people are thinking, well, I'm not taking care of my temple, and what is wrong with me? I'm this broken person that can't seem to be godly and good and all of this because I'm morally bankrupt because I live in this larger body, as if that is the problem. We have this visual representation of what's going on the inside, and everybody gets to judge that and look at that. And internally, it feels so bad because we're judging ourselves the same way. And that's not helpful either. Yeah,
great point. All right, y'all. If you found this episode helpful, you can go ahead and support the channel by liking, subscribing, and hitting the notifications bell on your way out so you don't miss one in the future. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What about you? Do you have a sibling, a sister that you compare your body to? Is this something that you've struggled with in the past or currently? We would love to hear about it in the comments. Have a great day.